Hello, my name is Hidekuni or Hide, and welcome back to my channel. Today is the 15th of December and tomorrow is my last convention, so I am preparing everything, I guess, which is not a lot. Like, I made my buttons today, which were 16. I will add some more because I have to redo the ones I failed because some broke, because that happens. For the rest, I don't have much to do unless packing, driving there, and setting up tomorrow morning since it's a 1 day event. But, well, one thing I did, I'm having a sketch commission trade with a friend who will also be tomorrow. We saw each other 2 weeks ago at Weihnachtsmarkt. I love tabling across of them. And yes, we had a convention sketch exchange. So, what I will be doing is draw the character for them, which is a character from Magnus Archive, of which I heard a lot. Like, they keep talking about it a lot, and many people are intrigued in it, but I never looked into it. It's a podcast, and I never listened to a podcast, so I have no idea if I would ever manage to look into such, or start it, or even end it, finish it. I don't know. It sounds very odd to me, because I like to have videos on while I draw or do my things or music, but a podcast, I don't know. It requires me to actively listen to something, and my brain just very easily runs off, and then I'm so far away that I miss out on anything and have to re listen to it, and that's very frustrating. So I have to see if I would manage that. I think the only podcast I listened in my life was a book for school, which was so boring that I looked up the podcast online and then listened to that instead of reading the book. And I don't know, podcasts are a very interesting but weird thing for me. But then again, whenever I see that character, I'm very gay for them. I don't know, I think they look very good, and I love how fans draw him, and I love the eyes and the aesthetic, and he has white streaks in his hair, and I think that's so hot. So I'm happy whenever I can draw that character for people, because I think that's the second or third time actually I got asked to draw him as a sketch commission. So that's very funny. In general, I love my convention sketches and to draw them. That's why I offer them at conventions, because it's something I can afford drawing with my time and patience and concentration. Today I will be packing the car. I get everything downstairs, put it in the car. My boyfriend will come over and help me, and then we drive to the city where the convention, like the 1 day event, will be tomorrow. And then tomorrow morning, I think the convention is open at 7 for vendors. So we would go early in the morning to set everything up and then sell the whole day until 6 in the evening, and then it will be already over. I am, let's say, I'm very curious about how the convention will be like, because this convention just started out this year from what I've heard, and we were at the event earlier this year, which was 2 days, and it was alright for us. It was pleasant and interesting. And tomorrow they have the second event we will go to, and tomorrow they have like this Christmas edition of 1 day, and I have no idea how this will go, to be honest, because I looked up the prices for visitors in my last video, and to be exact, they are 26 euros and 31 cents on the website, which I think is a very big price for a 1 day event. I don't know what they will offer, so I'm very curious to see what they will have there tomorrow. All I know so far is, of course, they have a little artist alley. They probably, I assume, have other merchants. They have guest actors and voice actors there from Vikings and One Piece and all that. But I looked up the special guests and I have no idea who any one of these actors or voice actors are. Of course, I know the German voices of One Piece, and they have two of these voice actors there, I assume. But for the rest, I have no idea, no big interest. Like, it's something I don't understand, but that's only me. But what I wonder is, people already have to pay almost $30 to get in there. And then they also have to probably spend money when they want a picture with this famous person or a signature and all that. So it feels a lot like money grabbing, and that's why I'm not sure how I should feel about that. But that's why I'm very excited to go there tomorrow and see if everything works alright and how it works and how they build it up, and hope that it goes good, it goes well for them, but also for me, and see how it will be like. As also stated in my last video, I am looking forward how it will be like in regard also of Weihnachtsmarkt, to see what their differences are, what their common things are, and how big the change will be of those two events, because they give like similar vibes. But Weihnachtsmarkt was completely free, they asked a lot of money for one day, and we shall see. These also are all my boyfriend's buttons. Well, these are mine. That's a huge difference. But I love him, so I make them for him, because I don't really have to prepare much. Hello, we are at the convention. It's ProudNerdCon today, and it's one day, as I said, and I set up my table. We drove here, everything went fine. They were still setting up our tables while we arrived, but we were on point, like we arrived here 7 o'clock, and that's the time they want us to be here, and we made it. And they set everything up, they set up the artist alley, which looks great, it's so cute, it's wonderful. And I think it's about time that the people are entering, so I shall get going and sell my beautiful art. Also, I film my table, so there you go. For this convention I have these again, which is great. I got some of these, but sadly the color quality is not as I wished. It's not like that, it's much more saturated, and it's very hard to read the blood on that one. Like, this is from the first batch, and now the second batch is like, I don't know, have to see what I do with them. And I have this one, which is also for a bigger project, and it's a Dotoris earring, and I just wrote on experiment number 1 because he probably has a favorite, and I want people to be his favorite because I'm very gay for that man, and others shall be as well. For the rest, I have my ravens, I have a bunch of Gustarian, and for the rest it's just the same mostly. Like, I didn't really do something. Oh, in fact, I have something, but I forgot to put it on the button, so let me get it. So let's see. Here is my box with all my buttons and patches, and I did this one. Wait. I did this one now. Excuse me. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Oh, and I have to put sun there. So let's put him. Please, no. There you go. And then we go back and put him also up because I don't find him. Yeah, no idea where he went. The back of my booth is still a mess, so I have also to clean this up and put this next to me and this on that side, and then the boxes, and this is fine, but this box has to go down. So much to do. Stress. There you go. So let's see how the convention goes today and have them food at the end. So let's have a little update because it's almost 2 o'clock and not going that well. I have my booth costs in and my expenses. I have everything in, but the profit is missing. You're so loud. Like I have all my booth costs in, but the profit is missing, and that's a bit bothersome because I was expecting more. Like I hoped I would get more. Well, it's 4 more hours, but exactly what I thought would happen is happening, which is there are not many people here. The con, I don't know, it feels so empty. This morning there were some, like there was a queue in front of the hall and such. People came in, they started buying and such, but it is not going forward, it is not going well. And I don't know if now in the afternoon more people will come because the event is somewhat half over. And I have no idea what I'm expecting at the moment of this convention. Well, I'm already lucky that I have not make any loss and I have all my costs. But also from the vibe, how other people are talking, like other artists, it's a rather slow vibe. It's going very slowly. It's not going necessarily great for some. And that's also sad to hear because I think artist alleys are great to bond and to have friends around and to make new friends and then just vibe together, which is wonderful. But right now, seeing others also struggling, it's a bit sad. This will be a bit hard for me to talk about because on the one hand, at any convention there was, things went well most of the time, and sometimes they had little hiccups that can happen at any con. But from an artist and vendor's point of view, this convention was a little hiccup on its own. To structure this now, I will talk about the artist alley, the atmosphere, then the convention and organization, and the sales. First of all, the artist alley, where I will just talk about the overall experience and what I did and what has happened and how it was like. On Friday Eve, I already drove to Trier and sleep there so I could be ready to set up earliest on Saturday morning, which was 7 o'clock. And we arrived there in time, but due to the convention not providing any parking, we parked at the nearest public parking to the convention. And due to that, we also had to pay the fees afterwards. We arrived in the artist alley shortly after 7 and they were still in the middle of setting up the tables, while we shortly had to wait, which wasn't a big deal as we would still have more than 2 hours to set up, and in the meantime I went back to the car to get the rest of the things, which was alright. It's totally understandable that due to certain locations that the con can't set up earlier and were still on it at the time as we arrived there, yet they were also fast done so we could quickly get to our tables and start working. Yet due to how they set up the tables and the whole artist alley, there wasn't enough space behind the tables for the artists and their items, why we would, at least in our row, bump into each other a lot. And whenever someone stood up to get something or have to go to loo or look around, it was always a bit hard to get past each other. I was a bit lucky there because the person behind me didn't show up, and I think it's because they got sick and they had to cancel abruptly, which was pleasant for me, but it's still sad for them, so I hope they recover soon and well. But due to that, I didn't have as much of that trouble and had some space behind me. Others, on the other hand, didn't. With us artists, they also had a special guest in the same room, and in one corner they had a little kids corner, which was very cute of them, that they took care of the very small visitors and that they gave them things to be occupied and entertained with. Yet the end of the room wasn't used much, which was a bit of a bummer because it looked very empty and they could have used that space to provide the artists with more space between their tables, like on the backside of the artist, so they could have more space. So that was a bit sad to see. For the artist alley itself, they had a variety of artists. They had some that worked with textiles and clothes and fabric, others were dice makers, yet you also had a bunch of artists that painted and drew, which was very cool. They had different styles and they had a good variety, in fact. So once the tables were available, we started setting up, which took the rest of the time we had until 10, and that's when the convention started and the people were allowed to come in. From an artist point of view, it also went very well. It was very cozy. There were constantly some people and they were constantly walking by and checking things out, so it was great. Until 2 o'clock, when I noticed that the people started to disappear and my sales started to slow down a lot. The visitors were very friendly and chill as long as there were any, but once they started to disappear, it got very boring for me and for other artists, and it really pushed the spirits down. Why personally, it didn't make a difference for me to stay the last 3 hours. Like, I could have stood up and gone. There was no difference for me, and it didn't change much to me as I also started to grow tired due to the lack of interactions with the people and work, and I was literally just sitting there waiting for something to happen, and that was very exhausting. Around 4 there came some people back, but nothing compared to what was there in the morning, so there was a bit going on, but really not much. And that's also why I'm very glad that I made my costs in by 2 o'clock, but I saw others struggle very hard and they barely made in their tables, not even talking about their costs for transport and hotels. And that's also very sad to see when others don't succeed, because it's still some kind of a community where everyone is sharing for each other and are just there to have a great time, to get their art to people and exchange information and tips and tricks and just be a cute community. Like, artist alleys are great to connect to people, so it was a bit sad to see others struggle. And again, from my point of view, it seems like the people that were mostly there in the morning when it seemed full were there for the special guests, and the people paid these high entrance fees to get in, to then go get to meet the guests, partially even paying more depending on if they wanted to have selfies with them or signatures and all that. And the only purpose was to come in and see these guests. After all, these guests were also promoted a lot on their website and on social media. And once the people got what they wanted, they just left. I also got told that the apparent reason for the people leaving around 2 was due to the Christmas market that was close by, and that they would go there to eat something, which was understandable with the high location prices and the little selection they offered at the convention, because the convention had to offer the location service, like the service of the building they rented for this kind of event. Yet most people didn't really come back afterwards, at least not to the artist alley. And that's why it was very sad that 4 out of 8 hours there wasn't much going on, and it was just a very low energy atmosphere. Like, the Christmas spirits weren't there. Overall, the convention felt a bit overpriced already when I looked up the price for my last video, and this made me fear that most people wouldn't come due to the high fees, which were exceptional high for the size this convention is. Yes, they have to get the money in when they offer such special guests, and it's totally understandable and it's cool that they have such, but maybe they are not in a position yet to organize such, as they keep the people away and just started out this year, and they are not big enough to do so because they are not very established yet, and the people weren't simply there. The people couldn't sustain their high costs, and it also felt they were only focusing on the special guests and not on other parts of their convention. The artist alley, for example, didn't feel like a focus point despite having so many artists there. The first sign, for example, was the situation with the tables where the artists were a bit cluttered and sitting on top of each other. And the second thing was that the artists got somehow weirdly promoted and only on their Instagram. I wanted to look it up on their site, but by now they have completely reorganized their site, like their website, and have already the promotion up for the next event. So even if you want to look something up about their previous event, I couldn't find it. Maybe I didn't find it because it's somewhere and I just overread it and didn't click on it, but I couldn't find anything anymore. And I could only find some posts on their Instagram of like promoting half of their artists, because we, for example, didn't get promoted, although we sent in a media kit as they asked for it, and I also didn't get tagged anywhere as they would usually do, and as they also did for other artists. So that's also a bit sad, because I would have loved to get promoted. It's also very hard to find something back on their Instagram, because the design and template they use for the artists changes around all the time, and it makes it very hard to see a coherent layout and find the different categories like artists, walking acts, special guests, and so on back. It's very hard. And I can also understand that not every convention can shout out their artists. For example, Dokumi and such, they have over 700 there, and eventually people will grow tired and not look at them anymore and such. But it really depends from convention to convention and their interests and focus, as well as size. And it's very confusing to me what they prioritize and who they shouted out and who they didn't shout out. Like, there was no consistency. Due to the size of ProudNerdCon, it came very close to another local con, which is LuxCon, which is in Luxembourg. And they have an entrance fee of 10 euros, for example, for 2 days. They have an artist alley, they have a cosplay contest, they have a pub quiz, they have also special guests like book authors and actors at times, even cosplayers. Like, they always try to get various guests in, and they also have a bunch of workshops and such, which I'm not even sure if ProudNerdCon had these. From the vibe and the size, it came very close to LuxCon, and it's like day and night comparing those both conventions, because LuxCon isn't as expensive and offers much more. In my opinion, the entrance fee was also crucial and limited the people they could have had. First of all, I didn't see the people back that I would usually see in this region, and that was also a bit sad. And due to that price, they also targeted a certain group of people, which would be mostly adults that can work and can afford these high prices due to a stable income. On the other side, there were also many children with their parents. There weren't many teenagers. Also, to pick up the topic on the Christmas market again, they, in my opinion, chose the wrong location and time. People around here know that there will be a Christmas market each year and that people will have so many other things close by they can do. The location also prohibited people to bring food and drinks inside, being limited to the expensive drinks and snacks they had there, and forcing the people to either come in and pay so much, or to just leave and get something yummy elsewhere. And in addition to that, the parking situation in Trier on a Saturday with wonderful weather, shortly before Christmas and people needing to go Christmas shop, is horrendous and awful, as well very pricey, because Trier in the last months or last years raised their parking prices by a lot. The convention itself also adjusted their prices over the day, but I, for example, had no idea they would do that, and I can assume others didn't either, because they only very shortly before the con announced that. And that's also a bit unfair against the people that bought their tickets weeks in advance. It was also a bit confusing, for me at least, how artists got informed about things, because there was an exchange of emails, but also there existed a Discord server, which got deleted by now, in which further things also got discussed. certain information didn't get properly handed out to artists, such as how they treat bootleg and what their proper guidelines are about it. It seemed also that there wasn't an overall clear exchange of information because not everyone of the organizers knew everything and was up to date themselves, why they had to go ask a lot of things. And if you have such miscommunication and unawareness within the organization, it makes it very hard to organize something. The circumstances weren't great and the convention didn't deliver what they seemed to be or wanted to be. A big established convention, and it was not lucrative, nor did it bring enough people in for the artist alley, causing some of them to be bored for hours and draining their energy. I honestly was so broken after ProudNerdCon, just as much as I was after a 3-day convention like Konichi. Yet after Konichi I felt awesome because it went so great, while ProudNerdCon was only 1 day and I just felt drained. And honestly, that's not a taste a convention wants to leave in order to have people to come back. And not only speaking about visitors. Despite all of that, I am very glad that I left with black numbers. And to show what kind of costs I had, we had to pay for 2 tables 119 euros. That leaves us with 59.50 euros per table. Then we have gas, which I take, which is 7 euros. Then I, as always, have to sustain myself, so I roughly count in 20 euros with food and drinks and snacks. And then we had the parking situation, which for 1 day cost us 15 euros, which is luckily the max the parking would ask us. And we also split these costs in 2, so that leaves me with 7 euros 50, which leads me to around 100 euros roughly in costs. Sales, I made sales in total of 305 euros, which I'm very happy that I made these, which I mostly made in the morning because over the afternoon I made like 50 or 70 bucks, which would have barely been my table. And calculating these 305 minus the 100 in costs leaves me with 205 euros profit. And if I would only be looking at that convention and at how well I made, it would be totally fine. I came out with black numbers, I made a good amount of profit, I got what I hoped I would get, but not what I expected. I clearly made profit. But I'm just sad that my last convention of this year ended on that note. And it's also sad that I predicted this for myself, knowing the circumstances, and that they came true. Especially also comparing to Weihnachtsmarkt, that was 2 weeks prior, but went so wonderful, awesome, and just I'm still so happy about Weihnachtsmarkt and how it was. It was just such a great experience. ProudNerdCon, not so much. Which also leads to the question, would I apply again? Yes, I would. I would totally apply again, because just as my last video showed about Weihnachtsmarkt, circumstances can change, locations can change, conventions can change, and so can artists. And I want to see them grow and succeed. It's a local con, it's something that's close to me, and I want to have cool and wonderful conventions around me. So I want them to succeed and grow, and I'm looking forward to see what they are planning next year, what they are planning in the future overall, what they decide on, if they are willing to take in constructive criticism or like experiences, because I gave more of an experience, for example, than now constructive criticism. But I wanted to share this to give them an insight in how I felt, not going there necessarily and be like, oh, you did everything wrong, because no, they didn't. Their convention still ran, their convention still functioned, and the first half part of the convention was also great for me, and I hope that this maybe helps. So if maybe one of the organizers of ProudNerd Convention sees this, hello, I liked your convention and I want to see you succeed and grow and find solutions to make everyone happy, because also some other people were upset and left also feedback and comments. I don't know what you got now, everything, but this is my point of view, how I experienced it. And yes, I would totally come back again and have a new experience and have a better experience even. Then again, if I only look at this convention without looking at any other convention I had this year, it was fine. Of course, every convention has some hiccups, and everyone can fail in something, or like the circumstances weren't right, the location also restricted them a lot of what I heard, or like gave them guidelines of what they had to use and do. So I hope that maybe next year they take another location, maybe they get another experience also being in that environment at that time in that location. So I'm genuinely looking forward to see what they will be doing now, in what direction they will go, that they take responsibility of their choices, and that they will also grow from that experience. Because I think local conventions are so important to grow the community, to bring people together, and to strengthen these communities. And it is what it is now. And now we look forward. So I hope that it doesn't sound too harsh, because I don't want to come in and just be like, oh, you did everything bad. But no, they also did good things. They tried. They are very new still. And what I hope is that they learn from this and move on and slay. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that you're still around, that you watched until the end. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know down in the comments. I like to see what you think about this, if you have any opinion on it, if you maybe were there, if you're maybe one of the organizers or such. This will probably also be now my last video for this year, so I wish you great Christmas days. I hope you have a wonderful time and a happy new year. And for the rest, I wish you a good day or night wherever you are. Bye!